to oust Justin Trudeau. MPs were pulled into meetings across Parliament Hill this week to sign a pledge demanding change at the top.
In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our...
Can you name 3 ways Trudeau has strengthened Canada's position on the world stage? Bet you can't, because Trump says he's done the opposite. In this video, we challenge you to look at the facts about Canada's declining global influence. By the end, you'll see why Trump's bombshell statement about cutting US protection is so important. Trump just dropped a bombshell that's shaking the foundations of US-Canada relations. For decades, these two nations have stood side by side, sharing the world's longest undefended border and a rock-solid defense partnership. But now, that's all changing. In a shocking move, Trump announced he's cutting US protection for Canada. This isn't just some minor policy shift. It's a seismic event that could leave our northern neighbors exposed and vulnerable. Imagine Canada suddenly without its biggest ally and protector. It's a scenario that's sending shockwaves through Ottawa and beyond. Trump didn't hold back in his criticism of Trudeau's leadership either. He blasted the Canadian PM, calling him weak and dishonest. These aren't just empty words. They're a direct attack on Canada's top leader from the president of their closest ally.
For questions about the Prime Minister's leadership from within his own party. Justin Trudeau is on his way home following a summit in Southeast Asia.
This could back down now that the word has gotten out and the Prime Minister's office is able to respond, because people I've spoken with who are connected with this effort said their intention was to keep it.
It's the kind of public takedown that could seriously damage Canada's standing on the world stage. But it's not just Trump sounding the alarm. Military experts are raising serious concerns about Canada's preparedness. They're pointing out glaring gaps in Canada's defense capabilities, from outdated equipment to understaffed units. Without US backing, these weaknesses could become critical vulnerabilities. The big question on everyone's mind: how will this affect Canada's security? We're talking about a nation that's relied on US protection for generations. Suddenly, they're facing a future where they might have to fend for themselves. It's a terrifying prospect for many Canadians. Here's the real shocker. Trump revealed he's cutting critical missile defense systems that protect Canadian airspace. This leaves Canada exposed to potential threats from hostile nations. It's a move that's left many defense experts speechless. They're warning that Canada simply isn't equipped to fill this massive gap in their defenses. As this story unfolds, all eyes are turning to Trudeau. How will he respond to this unprecedented challenge to Canada's security? His leadership is about to face its toughest test yet, and the whole world is watching.
A great military, and we have a military that's not woke. You may have a few people on the top that are woke, and we're going to get rid of them so damn fast your head's going to explode.
The caucus pushing for Trudeau to leave. So far, those MPs haven't gone public. They're not named, but it's clear the pressure from within is growing.
Trudeau's leadership is crumbling before our eyes. As Trump's bombshell announcement sent shockwaves through Canada, Trudeau's response was weak and uninspiring. He mumbled some vague promises about maintaining strong US relations, but his words rang hollow. The Canadian media tore into him, calling his foreign policy a total disaster. One commentator even said Trudeau was giving a master class in weak leadership. Ouch. The opposition parties smell blood in the water. They're circling Trudeau like sharks, ready to tear his political career to shreds. Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative leader, is gaining serious momentum. He's positioning himself as the tough guy who can stand up to Trump and protect Canadian interests. Meanwhile, Trudeau looks more and more like a deer caught in headlights. But it's not just the politicians and media taking shots at Trudeau. Regular Canadians are turning on him in droves. His approval rating has plummeted to a pathetic 32%. That's lower than some dictators. People are sick of his obsession with woke social programs while Canada's global standing crumbles. They want a leader who will make Canada strong again, not turn it into an international laughingstock.
And to describe it as a vehicle to secure a commitment from MPs to seek that leadership change and bind the MPs to that goal should the Prime Minister.
But remember, this job has been empty for the past month since Jeremy Broadhurst stepped down, and with an election possible sooner rather than later.
The evidence of Canada's decline under Trudeau is overwhelming. Once a respected player on the world stage, Canada has become what critics call a geopolitical punchline. Its economic competitiveness has tanked. Its military is a joke. And its diplomatic influence? Let's just say nobody's returning Trudeau's calls these days. As the criticism mounts, Trudeau keeps digging himself deeper. He trots out the same tired defenses of his failed policies, but nobody's buying it anymore. The writing is on the wall. Trudeau's days as Prime Minister are numbered. The only question is how ugly his political demise will be. With Canada's reputation in tatters and its security hanging by a thread, the economic consequences of this political meltdown are about to hit hard. Trudeau's weakness has left Canada exposed, and now the bill is coming due. Brace yourselves because things are about to get a whole lot worse for our neighbors to the north. Canada's economy is like a house of cards, and Trump just pulled out the bottom row. With over $700 billion in trade at stake, entire industries are now teetering on the brink of collapse.
It made no difference. No, you have to be here. Our friends are there. And I said, okay, when you say that, I'm going to be there 100%. I'm going to be there. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately.
Which sectors are about to fall first? The US-Canada trade relationship isn't just important. It's the lifeblood of Canada's economy. A staggering 75% of Canadian exports go straight to the US. That's not just a number. It's millions of Canadian jobs and livelihoods hanging in the balance. And now, thanks to Trump's bombshell, it's all at risk. Take the automotive sector. It employs over 500,000 Canadians and ships a whopping 90% of its exports to the US. If Trump decides to play hardball, those jobs could vanish overnight. And it's not just cars. Agriculture, energy, all the big players in Canada's economy are sweating bullets right now. The numbers are terrifying. Economic experts are warning that if things get ugly, Canada's GDP could shrink by 2%. That might not sound like much, but we're talking about billions of dollars and countless jobs lost. It's the kind of hit that could send Canada into a full-blown recession. Canadian business leaders are freaking out, and for good reason.
Great Congressman, would you say, Mike, that if you were in charge, you would say, oh, please, don't touch them, let them rob your store, let all these stores go out of business, right?
Not said more publicly and is not saying much privately either, Neil. As far as caucus goes, we've been told a couple of MPs sent out emails telling people to stop.
They remember the ongoing softwood lumber dispute, where US tariffs have been hammering Canadian exports for decades. Now they're facing the nightmare scenario of those kinds of trade wars spreading to every industry. But here's the real kicker. Trudeau's government is totally unprepared for this economic tsunami. While Trump was busy beefing up America's defenses and economy, Trudeau was off chasing woke dreams and ignoring the storm clouds on the horizon. Now Canada's caught with its pants down, and there's no easy way out. Trump dropped a truth bomb that's got everyone talking. He revealed that under Trudeau's watch, Canada's been freeloading off US protection while letting its own military and economy wither away. It's a stinging indictment of Trudeau's leadership that's left Canadians wondering, who's really looking out for their interests? As the economic fallout spreads, it's becoming clear that this isn't just about Canada anymore. The entire foundation of North American cooperation is starting to crack. And with global powers watching closely, the stakes couldn't be higher. The world is watching as North America's strongest partnership fractures. But while everyone's focused on trade wars and Twitter spats, they're missing the bigger picture. Trump's moves aren't just hurting Canada's wallet. They're putting the entire continent's defense strategy at risk. And you won't believe what military experts are saying about Canada's ability to protect itself. NATO and NORAD aren't just fancy acronyms, they're the backbone of North American security. For decades, the US and Canada have stood shoulder to shoulder, keeping the bad guys at bay. But now, that rock-solid partnership is starting to crumble. Trump's decision to cut US protection for Canada isn't just a slap in the face.
50 MPs have so far signed this document, with others voicing their support for this cause. One MP who signed the document
told CBC News the number of MP signatures has spilled onto a second page.
It's a wrecking ball to these crucial alliances. Think about it. NATO's whole thing is an attack on one is an attack on all. But if the US isn't backing up Canada, that promise starts to look pretty hollow. And NORAD? It's supposed to be this impenetrable shield protecting North American airspace. But with Trump pulling out those missile defense systems, it's like he's punching holes in that shield himself. Other NATO countries are freaking out, and for good reason. If the US can just ditch Canada like yesterday's news, who's next on the chopping block? This isn't just about two countries having a spat. It's shaking the very foundations of global security. Russia and China are probably popping champagne right now, watching North America's united front fall apart. The consequences for North American security are terrifying.
A really violent day, like a guy like Mike Kelly, put him in charge. Congressman Kelly, put him in charge for one day. In the history of our country. America's so true.
Without US backing, Canada's vast Arctic territories are suddenly up for grabs. Russian bombers are already pushing the limits, testing NORAD's response times. And now? Canada might not even be able to detect them coming, let alone stop them. But here's the real shocker. Military experts are saying Canada is totally unprepared for what's coming. Their equipment is outdated, their forces are understaffed, and they've been relying on US protection for so long that they've forgotten how to defend themselves. It's like Canada's been skipping leg day at the gym for years, and now they're expected to run a marathon. As this situation unfolds, the whole world is holding its breath. Will Canada step up and rebuild its defenses? Or will North America's security crumble like a house of cards? One thing's for sure. The global power dynamics are shifting, and Canada's about to learn the hard way that in today's world, you can't always count on your friends to have your back. The threats to US-Canada relations are massive. Trump's bombshell about cutting protection has left Canada exposed and vulnerable. Trudeau's weak leadership has tanked Canada's global standing. The economic fallout could devastate entire industries. And North American security alliances are crumbling fast. Where does this leave Canada? Things could get ugly. Scenario 1, Canada scrambles to beef up its defenses, but is too little too late. Scenario 2, Canada caves to US demands, losing sovereignty in the process. Scenario 3, a new Canadian leader emerges who can actually stand up to Trump. This situation is changing by the hour. Canada's future hangs in the balance. Don't miss a single update on this explosive story. The fall of a once great nation is unfolding before our eyes. Will Canada survive this crisis? Keep watching to find out.